Please welcome to the stage our moderator, Zara Barrie.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the second annual, it's not yearly, it's gonna be hopefully monthly, the second Lit Salon. My name is Zara Barrie. I'm gonna be your host this evening, and this Lit Salon is so near and dear to my heart because it's about my favorite issue in the world, and that's not fashion, that's not dating, that's not even sex. It's mental illness, mental health, call it whatever you want to call it. Now, if anybody here ever had like anxiety, maybe a little bit of depression, sad moment? Right, most of us have. So what I find so fascinating is that so many hundreds of millions of Americans suffer from some kind of mental illness. I mean, I don't know a single person who isn't touched in some way by mental illness, yet we don't talk about it. It's so stigmatized. So we're here tonight to really break the stigma and share our stories, the good, the bad, the ugly, the devastatingly sad, and the hilariously funny stories of all of our mental illness. And I am so honored to be with such amazing talent tonight. I've got CB Glasser. I've got Iman Hariri-Kia, Dayna Troisi, and Donny Meacham joining me, telling their stories tonight. And before we just dive into this evening, I want to give a shout out to Samsung 837 for hosting us in this amazing space today. Samsung 837 really just puts together such amazing events where community and culture are able to collide, and I'm so grateful to be here with all of you tonight. And hopefully tonight, just through performance and through sharing, we're all gonna go home and feel a little less alone in the struggle. Because that's why I write, that's why I perform, just so I can feel a little less alone in the struggle. So it's very sacred to me that I get to share that with you. Tonight, we're also here in partnership with the amazing Source Productions. Now, the Source is an amazing educational outreach touring company. They do film, they do videos, and it's all based on issues that directly respond to the needs of young people. We've got some Source alumni in the audience. I see you, Owen. I was a Source member as a teenager, as was my friend Owen up here, and it's just an amazing program that uses the arts to really dive into hard issues to talk about when you're a teenager. And mental health, you know, it starts when we're teenagers, and that's the time where we really need safe places to work through all of that. I want to invite my special guest up to the stage, Frankie LaPace. Frankie is a performer and a writer, also a Source alumni, and he's just going to tell you a little bit about his personal story with the Source.
Hi, everyone. My name's Frankie. I'm a writer and performer here in New York City. I grew up in Sarasota, Florida, same town as Zara. And I want to say it's hard to talk about Source without talking about my family, which is perfect because today's topic is all about mental illness. When I say chemical, you say imbalance. Chemical. No, but really, so I grew up in a family of New Yorkers. I'm mixed race. My mom's Afro-Caribbean. She's Puerto Rican from the Bronx. My dad is Italian. They moved, yes, honey. They moved right before I was born to Florida. And just to give you an idea, the first time I went on a date, I was 17. I lied to my mom about where I was. She followed the guy home in her car with her lights off. And the next day, I came out to her, and we had a very hard conversation about it. She's like, well, you have to tell your father, because I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to tell your father. And so my dad, who I never really talked to, I was trying to avoid the whole week. We finally I was trying to leave the house one day, and he sat me down, and he was obsessed with movies. And he showed me Billy Elliot, which I don't know if you've seen Billy Elliot. It's like this boy who's supposed to be studying boxing, ends up doing ballet. And at the end of the movie, the dad, accepts him. And my dad, at the end of the movie, I turned to be like, whoa, this movie's great. Tears in his eyes, like this Italian from Brooklyn. I was like, Dad, are you crying? He's like, yeah, I like this movie. The dad loves his son no matter what. which is like amazing. But with all that being said, these are the stories that I always kind of lead with when I talk about my family. I kind of overshare to undershare to shield. My mom is, I'm from a family of addicts. She's an alcoholic with bipolar. My brother is a drug addict who also has bipolar disorder. So I had a very turbulent life in high school. And one day in high school, this production company called The Source comes, and there are people my age on stage doing a play about drug addiction. And I was like, oh, cool. And the director comes out, and she's like, you know, these are the stories we tell all over Florida, and we're looking to cast more shows. And the first thought I had was, I want to skip school, and I want to be an actress, so perfect. So that's what I started doing. I ended up auditioning, and I started doing these plays all over Florida about, you know, HIV, bullying, addiction, and I was using it as a distraction to get away from my family and to pursue acting, which is what I wanted to do. But while it's all happening, I was getting these tools on how to deal with things. I didn't have much emotional intelligence on the matter. I was 16 years old. So I was able to deal with these sort of things, and then they started getting film grants, and that's when we started making films. I co-wrote with this director, KT, a film called When the Party Ends, and it's about HIV specifically within the Gulf Coast of Florida. But these sort of projects are super important, especially in Florida. Florida is abstinence only, and as research shows, they're #1 in teen pregnancy and #1 in new HIV infections. So it's super important that these stories are being told, and they're specifically geared towards young adults and teenagers, because we don't have that education. The first time I had sex, I had no idea how to put a condom on, and then that was before I went to Source. So just to I was like 17 years old. So Source also has like this after-school program where the director, you know, sort of guides these children through theater games to sort of address like concerns, like she puts you in scenarios like what happens when a kid offers you like, you know, prescription drugs from their parents' counter. So it's been invaluable in that way, and the first time I left the country was with The Source. That's one of our films got accepted into the Cannes Film Festival. But yeah, I now have like language and tools from something that I did at 16 that I thought would just be a one-off way to like allow me to skip school. And it's been amazing. And KT, the director and the creator of The Source, is she is a collaborator of mine, and I consider her a second mom, really. Like I said, yeah, from a family of addicts, which is super hard to talk about. Like my brother's getting out of prison next week, and my mom's been in and out of jail most of my adult life. It's been a home away from home, and I think it's super important for what you would call high risk, at the time, teenagers and adults. And it's also provided really great employment opportunities for me and a way to find my voice creatively. Yeah.
Yes.
That's kind of it.
So the reason that we're talking a little bit about The Source is because at the end of this, you know, this event is free, but if you do have it, we're grateful for your presence. There will be ambassadors all around if you want to make a donation to The Source. And we're just going to show you a quick trailer of their latest film, Surviving Lunch.
We can't live in New York anymore, Gabriela.
Hey, kid, why don't you get the hell out of here, okay?
Hi, you're sitting at our table.
I didn't know the lunchroom had assigned seats.
Hey, faggot. Hey. I'm talking to you, homo.
Don't you waste your time with me. What are you gonna break my arm too?
You got something to say, huh? Huh?
Sometimes I think if I had a gun, I'd kill him. Or myself.
With tragedy in Parkland, as many are feared dead after a school shooting in a Broward County high school.
What would you do if something like that were to happen here?
Telling him to fight back is not helping.
I don't see why you're freaking out on me. I'm trying to be the good guy.
Shana, would you just what? Can you even talk?
You boys stop it right now!
Staff, this is an active shooter lockdown. Please follow the appropriate protocol. This is not a drill. This is not a drill. Full lockdown, code red.
I understand that's a lot and it's very intense, but you know that's why this event is so important to us, and just starting these conversations about, because all of this comes back to mental health. I always say if you don't have your mental health, you don't have anything. So with that being said, I'm going to introduce our first performer of the night, a close friend of mine, Charlotte C.B. Glasser. Charlotte C.B. Glasser is an LGBTQ entrepreneur living bi-coastally between the East Coast and Los Angeles. You may have seen her on Netflix's popular new series, Dating Around, Episode 6, Mila. A proud co-producer of NYC's largest and longest-running LGBTQ party, Hot Rabbit, CB hung up her production hat to focus on hospitality while working as director of marketing for LA's prestigious H. Wood Group. Most recently, she has accepted a position for the Wynn's newest 5-star resort and casino, Encore Boston Harbor, where she focuses on player development and marketing strategy. Follow her on Instagram at CB Glasser. Let's give her a warm round of applause to the stage.
It's bright up here. Hi, everybody. How we doing? How we feeling? Zara deliberately gave me the first spot right after that really heart-wrenching trailer to make sure that I made people laugh. So I apologize if my story at any point gets too deep for you. Just like raise your hand, we can hug it out. We can talk about it for like 10 minutes. It's totally fine. So I couldn't pick just one story when Zara reached out to me when we're talking about mental health. At least with my mental health, I ebb and flow quite a bit. So there's going to be some highs, there's going to be some lows, opposite direction. You never know what you're going to get. So I wanted to open with a story about law of attraction, which doesn't necessarily speak to my mental health, but it was the beginning of a journey on my mental health before I ended up getting onto medication and before I got to the place where I'm at now, where I feel my most balanced in my entire life, whether it be with my mental, prosperity or even just my physical well-being, my relationships, my career, everything. So what happened was I was at the very bottom of the barrel in terms of how much money was left in my bank account. Nearly nothing left. I was going to dinner with a friend who is hopefully going to help me get a new job. I was living in New York on the Upper East Side with some friends. Actually, one of them is here tonight, so thanks for coming. But we were very poor at the time. We were not our glowed up selves as we are now. So it was rough times. I actually had to ask my parents for money for the first time. And I prided myself on not ever needing to ask for help, that I was self-sufficient. And not everybody is, and that's okay. But for me, it was like a major blow to my ego to have to call home and say, Mom, I need some money. I can't pay my rent. And it wasn't even that much at the time. I really thought it was like an exorbitant amount I was asking for, but it wasn't. And I called my mom and I was like, I need some help. She sent me a little bit of money and I was able to pay my rent. And then I went to dinner with this guy. We got wasted. I'm talking like shit-faced, picking yourself up off the floor drunk. And as I'm waiting for him before we got wasted, I was reading a magazine, which is something I never do. And I saw a picture of an Ames chair in front of a beach view in this gorgeous hotel. And for whatever reason, I ripped it out of the magazine and I put it in my backpack. Throw it in my backpack. Next day when I'm hungover, I'm going through the same bag looking for Advil, and I pull out this picture and I just find a tack on the floor of my bedroom and I put it in the bottom of my bedroom wall and I leave it there for 6 weeks. 6 weeks later, my friend I had dinner with introduced me to a guy on Madison Avenue who was a owner of a jewelry company. 6 months after that, I was flown to Malibu, California for my new job as a creative director for vintage brands, which was an amazing role, and I was finally financially stable in a really good place. And as I opened the door to the hotel room that they had set me up in, it was the exact same photo that I had ripped out of that magazine. It turns out they had done advertising for the new tower that they had built at the Fairmont Santa Monica, and that was the exact photo that I had pinned into my wall. I don't know if you believe in magic, but if you don't now, you should, because that shit was crazy, right? Like, how does that even happen, right? So, like, was I in a headspace to bring positive things in my life? No, not necessarily. I just needed a job. I was being proactive. I called the people that I knew in my network, and I got this role, and it ended up being amazing. I was between New York City and Los Angeles for like 4 years, and it was epic. And major props to the owner of that company that ended up taking me on and teaching me so much about what I know now and using my career every single day, Because when eventually my mental health started to depreciate, and he ended up letting me go because my role just wasn't being fulfilled. I wasn't in a mental place to do a great job at work anymore. And my boss, though patient and super supportive of me, was like, I can no longer keep you. And I went nuts on him. I absolutely couldn't have any verbal control over myself, and I went crazy. And I always feel bad about that. It was embarrassing. You know, like I'm not that person. I'm somebody who takes great pride in being successful and working really hard and trying to earn any opportunities I'm given. And in that case, I had gone against someone who had given me that opportunity and spoke to him in a way that was disrespectful and not true to our relationship. And that's what mental health does. It takes you out of your norm and takes you to a darker place that you wouldn't allow yourself typically to go. And for me, and everybody's different, I struggle a lot with anxiety, and I have ADHD. So ADHD for me is hard for me to focus. It can be difficult for me to concentrate. And the way my psychiatrist had explained it to me was that because my ADHD wasn't being treated, I developed anxiety trying to get everything a certain way, kind of an obsessive mentality. I want everything my way. Am I controlling? Yes, just kind of. But it's also like a comfort thing. It's not just that I want it my way all the time. It's that if it's not, I don't know how I'm going to react and how it's going to make me feel. And it's important to surround yourself with people that can understand that and be patient with you. And when I realized that I really needed to go on medication, it was after 2 other incidents that had taken place. One was at my New York City apartment. It was Brooklyn Pride weekend, and I was hosting an event for Brooklyn Pride. And a friend of mine and I had just moved me into my new apartment in Brooklyn. And I had a bag of weed on my counter, a bottle of Jameson, because it's Pride, we're pre-gaming, right? We're teenagers, we're young, we're youthful, we're having the best time of our lives. And all my clothes are in trash bags, and my bed is on the floor, and we get locked on the balcony in our underwear, smoking weed, drinking the Jameson. My phone's at 8%. Locked on my balcony, 4 floors up, can't get off, nowhere to jump to, no one to call. We're kind of fucked, you know, it was pretty scary. And I started realizing I'm gonna have a panic attack. Not only am I afraid of my own panic, or if I'm gonna jump off, or if I'm just gonna freak out and just die right there from anxiety. Like, can bad vibes kill you? Because if they can, I think that was the moment it was gonna happen for me. And my friend who I was with, I'm like, what if they freak out? That gives me anxiety too. I don't know how to make them okay. What if they jump off the balcony? You know, so I'm freaking out double, right? 4 hours later, some nice police officers, like jars of life at my door, and we got out, and they're like, what's going on? Why are you in your underwear? Why is there weed on the table? Why? I'm like, it's Brooklyn Pride, bro. Like, he's like, okay, like, have a good weekend, right? So like, I get off the hook, thank God, you know, and honestly, like, that shouldn't happen, but like, thank my lucky stars, I was okay. So that was the first time I realized, okay, my anxiety is like starting to get triggered in some not having control scenarios. And that was probably like the worst experience of it. And that's why today I don't leave and go inside anywhere that's enclosed, especially elevators, unless I check my pocket, make sure that my, you know, whatever anti-anxiety medicine, Xanax, is on me. I'm always like, oh, yeah, I'm good. Okay, I can get in this elevator, you know? It's like a safety blanket. You know you can get on because just in case, you can just pass yourself out. You know, if I get real too scared, I'm just gonna pass myself out and everything will be okay. And I've done it on airplanes a million times, works like a charm. Speaking of airplanes, so after that whole thing happened in Brooklyn, I'm on my way to LA, back to work. A week goes by. I have to go back to New York for another event. It was like that for a while, just on airplanes like this. And I was fine with it for years. And my mom worked for Delta, my roommates worked for JetBlue. I was having the best time of my life. I'm just traveling the world, living my best life. Now I have anxiety. Not your best life, your worst life in every scenario, even when it's your best life. So I get on the plane this time, going from LA to New York. And it starts, same feeling I was getting on the balcony. I can't get off if I want to. I don't want anyone to notice that I'm gonna have a panic attack. I don't wanna throw up on my neighbor. I don't wanna cry in front of these people. Can you die from bad vibes only? Like, this is what's going through my mind. I'm going to die right now. Nothing's wrong. In theory, if you ask any normal person, like, why are you freaking out? Nothing's wrong. We're cruising, you've got fucking direct TV, everything's fine. Why are you freaking out? But you can't help it, you're freaking out. So I didn't know what to do. It was like an hour away from New York. I go to a ZocDoc, and I'm like, just find me a psychiatrist who deals with anxiety in New York City. As soon as I get off this plane, I'm going right to their office. I'm gonna pay whatever the fuck they want, and I'm gonna get me some medication, and I'm gonna be okay. So I go to this woman's office. She's like, it's $350 a session. I was like, you must be worth it. I'll pay you in cash. Let's talk for at least an hour because I got a lot of feelings. She's like, have a seat. This woman was like a saint doctor. Mind you, I did pay her so much money, so like she should have listened to me for as long as I wanted to talk. But literally, she sat with me and listened to my life story and all of my feelings for like 3 hours. That's good therapy. She knew I wasn't stable. I went there and said, I'm not leaving without medication. She's like, let's talk about that. Like, what is that about? Great question, ma'am. I don't fucking know. I'm losing my mind. You gotta help me. I need control. Like, I'm freaking out. So she's the one who actually told me, you probably have some ADHD that's untreated, and you've developed this anxiety disorder, and these situations that have put you in a more like heightened state of anxiety have now, become a more regular thing. Maybe it is time for you to try some medication. That was 2017. It's now 2019. I've been on Zoloft since I left that office. And after that, she put me on Adderall. And I take 5 milligrams twice a day. And most days, I only take it once. Because I don't really need that second one, because then I'm not as fun. I kind of like just the one, just so I can get my shit done. But it doesn't just help me get my shit done. It also makes my mind feel smooth. Every day, I'm worried about everything. I don't know. What if I'm hungry later and no one else is? These are things I worry about. Anything could go wrong, and it would bother me. It would give me anxiety. What if my girlfriend's late, and I really wanted her to come home early? What if she's my comfort and she's not there? Zoloft gives me 5 seconds before I overreact that I couldn't do before I was on Zoloft. Zoloft enabled me to say, don't just call 911, take a second. You're not gonna die from bad vibes only. I know for a fact you cannot die from bad vibes only because I lived through it. Now I know that in addition to, for medication, in order to balance out my anxieties and my ADHD is one, be very open about how crazy I am and tell anyone who's gonna be impacted by my craziness. Like, hey, I like to keep the food on this side of the plate and certain parts of the food on that side of the plate. Please don't mess with it. It's gonna give me anxiety. And they can say, okay, you're nuts, but thanks for letting me know. I'm not gonna fuck with your plate. I'm like, thank you. Now we're cool, right? We can have a great time. Things like that. Communication, self-care, boundaries, keeping people out of my life that aren't adding to it, that are making it worse. That's not healthy. And only I can protect myself from the people who aren't looking out for me. So I learned that too. And also proper coping skills. So when I do need those 5 seconds, what do I do after that so that it doesn't escalate? So those are the things that help me in terms of my mental illness. And I know that even though I feel my best right now, it can get bad again. But the other thing I have to remember when it gets bad again is that it can get better again. And that happiness is not the even most expected feeling that we should all be attaining for, but just one of those other emotions that comes and goes. And we should hope for more happiness than less, but not expect it at all times. That's unreasonable. You wouldn't expect that from your friends. Nobody wants someone who walks in the room every time, hey, today's a great day, every fucking day. Like, chill, bro, it's 5 a.m. So it's gonna happen. We're gonna have bad days. Just remember that with every bad day comes a good day, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Thank y'all for listening to me. I appreciate it. Talk to me on Instagram, not on Twitter. I don't know how to tweet. Thank you so much, Zara, for having me. Let's do this.
Let's give CB another round of applause. I want some Zoloft, just saying. Next, we are going to have Dayna Troisi. Dayna Troisi is a sex and dating writer whose 200 plus essays have been published in Marie Claire, Elite Daily, Allure, and BuzzFeed, among others. Dayna is proud to be the managing editor at Go Magazine, one of the nation's premier and most widely read LGBTQ magazines. She identifies as a dyke princess and loves getting lit and ordering cheese boards at trendy restaurants. Dayna is obsessed with dating, beauty, fashion, Lana Del Rey, calling things iconic, and her badass bionic arm. Let's welcome Dayna Troisi to the stage. Holding for technical. Thank you, Zara.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. Thank you to Samsung for having us talk about how mentally ill we are. I'm really excited to tell you about how mentally ill I am. And I'm going to read you a story about a little mental breakdown I had where I thought I looked identical to Chaz Bono. The writer in no way intends to offend Chaz Bono. Every time I get a Brazilian wax, I spiral that my crotch is going to get ripped off. I keep my cell phone tightly gripped in my hand every time I see a performance because I'm terrified of it ringing, even when I know it's off. I reread the comments on my YouTube videos until I believe them. I'm still convinced I need veneers and should grow another arm. One time, I went on a date with a girl named Mariana, and I was so nervous I didn't know how to pronounce her simple name that I spent the entire walk to our date listening to a YouTube recording of Mariana, fuck. I once clogged the toilet at my boss's house and had to hand scoop my own shit into the garbage because I was too anxious to tell her. Before I leave my apartment, I have to touch my window 10 times and remind myself that it is locked, because I'm terrified of my cat plummeting to her death. Did I mention I live on the second floor? Don't even get me started on the hair straightener. Sometimes I get paranoid that one day I'll end up with a man and become a has-been. I've made innumerable urgent care visits, including but not limited to thinking I got AIDS from the nail salon, that I was becoming paralyzed from the HPV shot. The doctor simply asked, well, can you walk? And thinking every single pimple I ever got was herpes. My list of neuroses, from benign to debilitating, should all be a sign that I should have been medicated a long time ago. My friends and family regularly told me I needed help, but it was Chaz Bono himself that finally got me on some much-needed psych meds. It started out normal enough. I was sitting on my aunt's couch in Howard Beach, Queens, sipping Prosecco and dipping fried artichokes in marinara sauce, flipping through the channels. We could hear Frank Sinatra music playing and the old Sicilian ladies arguing through the thin apartment walls. I wanted to watch Sex in the City. My aunt wanted to watch The Honeymooners. We finally settled on Too Cute on Animal Planet, the show that follows around newly born puppies and kittens while narrating, the ragdoll kittens are causing mischief and the family basset hound does not approve. It's lit. But when it was over, we were in no mood to watch When Good Cats Go Bad, so we kept going through the endless channels. We flipped past the Chaz Bono documentary, and it caught my mom's eye. Another one of my aunts is transgender, and anything of the sort usually fascinates my family into hoping to better understand her. Dayna, this show is about the LGBT, my mom exclaimed, her eyes twinkling, proud of herself for trying to connect with me. I had been feeling ugly that day, but being ugly in peace, kind of embracing my ugliness. You know those days where you don't even brush your hair and sit in your own filth because you're just being ugly in the comfort of your own home? But as the documentary played, something in my brain snapped. I firmly decided I looked identical to morbidly obese, pre-surgery Chaz Bono. Before Chaz fans start throwing tomatoes at me, let me say that Chaz Bono is a very good-looking guy, a wonderful activist, and an overall amazing person. It's just that I want to look like a delicate Italian princess, not a burly man. Once the thought slithered its way into my head, it was all I could fixate on. While Chaz's girlfriend lamented that testosterone was making him too horny for her to handle, I played on a loop in my head that I looked just like him. While Chaz articulately and beautifully described his struggles and triumphs of being a transgender man, I stroked my chin, feeling fat and stubble. When my aunt asked me how I thought Cher handled it, I ignored her, and instead envisioned my head on Chaz Bono's body and his head on mine. They were one and the same. Am I as fat as him? I asked my mom, and she laughed it off. I persisted until I entered full blast mania. I couldn't shut up. Do I look like a man? No, Dane, you don't look like a man. My mom sipped her Prosecco. Just draw her a hot bath and pour her a glass of red wine. It's a fucking period, my aunt hollered at my mom while she scrolled through her phone looking for her therapist number. Everyone in my family sees the same therapist, codependent Italian style. I don't need a bath. I need to go back to Weight Watchers, I sobbed, stuffing more artichokes into my mouth. I opened my phone camera and stared at my Chaz Bono reflection. You need to go back to therapy, my mom ordered. Therapy isn't gonna change the fact that I have 16 chins. I have a mustache too. I want electrolysis for my birthday, I bellowed. Matthew, get in here, my mom called to my uncle. You's a beautiful girl, I don't understand, my uncle said, ripping off a piece of Italian bread. Just put her in the bath, put her in the bath, my aunt squawked. Her voice definitely broke the sound barrier. I stared into the mirror like a demented Twilight Zone Narcissus, while my reflection bounced between looking like Chaz Bono, a big toe, and Shrek. I fixated on a particularly long nose hair and how even my ears seemed to look morbidly obese. Do you think you might be a transgender? My aunt asked, raising a penciled eyebrow. No, she's just insane, my mom retorted. You better get in therapy, Dayna. I'm not putting up with one fucking month of Chaz. My aunt poured me a huge glass of Pinot Noir and forced me into an Epsom salt bath. PMS used to make me a nutbag too, she comforted me, folding up a nightgown and placing it on the toilet lid. But I was far too deep in my Chaz Bono dystopian universe to even hear her. A week later, I found myself shifting uncomfortably on a pleather couch across from an attractive older woman in a sensible suit. So you're having some body image issues, Dr. Janice began. So you're saying I look fat, I spat back. I think we should ask ourselves why you're asking me that, she rationally stated. So you're saying I'm morbidly obese, my pupils widened. You're a beautiful girl, but that isn't the point. You are beautiful is what people say to fat girls. I was practically foaming at the mouth and my eye started to twitch. Let's talk about what brought you here, she instructed. I think I look like Chaz Bono, I mumbled. What was that? I think I look like Chaz Bono, okay? The floodgates opened. I told her all about the Chaz Bono incident, Chazgate, if you will. I told her everything. My extreme dieting, the extreme binging, binge drinking, bouncing between loathing myself and being obsessed with myself, the diet tease, between feeling like Ursula from The Little Mermaid to Kim Kardashian, Chrissy to Cleopatra. I stammered. I have been gaining and losing the same 20 pounds my whole life. I am obsessed with the way I look, and it doesn't even pay off. I'm still fat. I should at least be anorexic for how mentally ill I am. I want my money back. I wailed. I kept sniffling and sobbing. Or I'd settle for bulimic, I softly said. You know how in therapy they get to the root of your problem? Aside from a flat-out chemical imbalance in my brain, there was roots to my obsession. Thanks to Dr. Janice and her sensible suits, I unearthed some good old family trauma. My grandma is a really hot, plastic surgery-filled, Birkin bag-toting, soul-cycling type of bitch. When I was younger, I remember her telling me, you're already disabled, you really shouldn't be overweight. The least I could have gotten out of this abuse was an eating disorder, like my cousin who ended up in the ICU for starving herself, lucky bitch. But beyond getting to the bottom of why I was so obsessed with the way I looked, Dr. Janet revealed that I had a whole laundry list of problems, including, but not limited to, OCD, manic depression, and generalized anxiety disorder. Chic, right? I felt like Kat Marnell or Lindsay Lohan, give or take 100 pounds. Crazy girls are cool. Crazy girls make art. I now, at least, had someone to tell me that I was crazy, to validate the constant war going on in my brain. A few sessions later, Dr. Janet asked how I was feeling about the way I looked. Like I said, in between my various mental breakdowns, my job is to appear in viral videos. It's kind of my job to tell everyone to love themselves. Ironic, right? I told Dr. Janet about my latest video appearance for an extremely popular media company. A lot of people commented. Millions, actually, I started. No one called me fat in the video, but I did get called a one-armed feminazi, which I considered a compliment because any guy that's willing to call someone a feminazi is willing to call someone fat, I triumphantly declared. Janet folded her arms. I think it's time to try Prozac. My GP didn't even hesitate in prescribing me Prozac. I guess he was used to how insane I am. I took my first dose the next morning and waited to feel deliriously happy. At first, I felt nothing. I floated in the dark cloud of anxiety, depression, exhaustion, restlessness, and body dysmorphia for weeks despite my daily dose. I stuck with it, but I was fairly certain the only thing Prozac would do would make me gain weight. Then after a month, one day, as I was sitting on my velvet couch with my cat, bad girl Riri, listening to Lana Del Rey, sipping my morning coffee, I didn't want to die. I didn't feel amazing, but it didn't feel terrible. It was like someone had opened the shades and the light was starting to peek in. Then, before I knew it, not only did I feel not like jumping off a building, I felt good. I wanted to get up and exercise. I wanted to go to dinner with friends. I wanted to swipe on Tinder until my thumb fell off. I wanted to adorn my body in the most fabulous clothes. I wanted to finish the book proposal that I'd been putting off. I wanted to eat healthy. I wanted to call Dr. Janet and declare my undying love for her, but I didn't want to be institutionalized just when I was feeling better, so I decided to write a love letter to Prozac instead. Prozac, oh Prozac, I love you more than Belvedere martinis and eyelash extensions and rich lesbians, and I love rich lesbians a lot. I love you more than I love Bad Girl Riri and the L Word reruns and Amazon packages. I love you more than my favorite vibrator, chicken parm, and Chanel. I love you more than Weight Watchers and waist trainers and the Kardashians. I love you more than towering platform sandals, wine country, and Kat Von D liquid lipstick. I love you more than spray tans. I love you more than fresh mozzarella. I never knew I could be this happy, this productive. I never knew I could authentically like myself. I feel like I'm rolling my titties off every day. Suddenly, taking the subway is an ecstatic errand as I listen to Billie Eilish and smile at strangers. I actually want to get out of bed. Maybe do something non-mentally deranged people do, like yoga. I feel okay about the way I look, which is so refreshing. But most of all, Prozac has given me perspective. I wouldn't even mind looking like Chaz Bono now because he is one handsome guy. It was never about Chaz. It was always about being mentally ill. And although it hasn't always been easy, I wouldn't trade my fucked up brain for the world because now I get to write about how insane I am for a living. Thank you.
And we are so lucky she writes about how insane she is, right? Next to the stage, we're gonna have Iman Hariri-Kia, who is an associate sex and dating editor at Elite Daily, where she oversees coverage ranging from sex, dating, relationships, and singledom to sexuality, gender identity, sexual health, and consent. Additionally, she frequently writes about her personal life on the internet, much to her parents' dismay. Her work has been published in Teen Vogue, Man Repeller, Bustle, Huffington Post, and more. She's a born and bred New Yorker, proud Persian, and moonlights as a musician. You'll often find her performing songs about those who wronged her in middle school. You can follow her inner musings on Instagram at Iman Hariri-Kia and picture at Iman.Hariri-Kia at bustle.com. Let's welcome Iman to the stage.
Sorry, I copy-pasted that from my author bio, but you can still pitch me. Whoa. I am proud to announce my bid for the 2020 election, you guys. So first and foremost, I just want to thank Zara, Samsung, love your products, and the Lit Salon for having me today. This is such an important event. Destigmatizing mental health is so important to me, and I also just love listening to the sound of my own voice, so this really checks all the right boxes. So thank you guys. That was a joke. Okay, good. You guys are gonna laugh. Second of all, I just wanted to ask a question for the audience. So this is good, it'll engage you guys early. So I want to see a show of hands for anyone who has ever struggled to find a pair of pants that has fit their ankles, hips, waist, ass, thighs, and calves perfectly. Only two, okay. I was like, wow, you guys are genetically blessed. Okay. So that was actually the majority of the audience, for those of you that don't have my incredible view. Hi, Dad. That wasn't a bit, that's my dad. Okay, great. So I feel like we're all gonna start this off on the right page, because I'm here to talk to you guys about pants. So, when I graduated college and took my first steps into the so-called adult world, my mom bestowed upon me 3 precious gifts. The first were pearls of wisdom, little gems such as, wow, you should never leave the house without cortisone cream because I had a stress rash. And the second, something like, everyone who's mean to you is probably just jealous. Which, by the way, is a lie. You guys know that, right? Okay, good. No one's jealous. The second was lodging, a sanctuary in which I could collect my bearings while exploring my new state of existence, which is otherwise known as getting my shit together while living in my childhood bedroom and my mom did my laundry. Okay, you guys have got to pick up on these beats. And the third was a beautiful pair of tailored black silk pants. She handed them down to me as if passing a baton. And when I ran my fingers down the seams, I felt a sense of purpose. It was my turn to carry the vestments to victory. My mother explained to me that the pants were once a prized possession, but she had outgrown them in taste, attitude, and fit. But still, I could picture her at my age, dressed to the nines, gallivanting around the Greenwich Village in the 80s, a cigarette loosely hanging from her lips. In my imagination, the pants held a certain power. They were crafted for a woman who knows exactly where she's headed and why. They entered my life at a time when I felt directionless, and they embodied a confidence that I so desperately craved. I was 22, broke, and jobless. I had no idea what I believed in. So I chose to believe in the pants. Sounds easy, perfect, right? There was just one problem. They were too fucking small. I couldn't wiggle them up my thighs no matter how hard I pulled at the waistband or sucked in my belly. I panicked. My mirage of piecing my life together, one pant leg at a time, began to dissipate. I grew acutely aware of how much space I was taking up in the room and felt suffocated by my own skin and bones. I resolved at once to do whatever it took to fit into them, to recommit to the prophecy of the pants, and thus commenced a series of Hail Marys, desperate attempts to shrink my circumference no matter the cost. And trust me, it cost. I sampled fad diets like hors d'oeuvres, chewing some up and spitting others out. I juice cleansed and ketoed, attempting to grow full of my own emptiness. Counting calories became a metric by which I measured my days, constantly deleting and re-downloading apps that spam me with endless notifications and negative thoughts. Each diet would fill me with a false sense of fulfillment until, of course, I fell off the wagon. Then I'd pick myself back up by my bootstraps and drag myself back into the church of try this and try that, where I'd chant my mantra, the pants, the pants, the pants! Not to be dramatic. I began spending every penny I earned on expensive class packages and immersive workout experiences. Sweat became my holy water, and I grew to associate pain with progress. I pedaled and plied until my legs ached. I doubled down on fast-paced yoga flows, ridding my body of evil spirits and evil toxins. Some days, I'd push myself so far that I'd break down in tears. But when my knees buckled beneath me, I'd look to the pants to provide solace, and they always delivered. By this point, the pants had begun to possess a godlike sovereignty, so nearly 8 months later, when I found them just hanging there in the back of my closet, I almost couldn't believe they were real. With the utmost care, I decided to try them on again. I slowly stepped into each pant leg, held my breath, prepared for resistance, and then, to my surprise, fastened the front buttons with ease. I closed my eyes, waiting for the ecstasy to wash over me, but instead, I felt nothing. I opened my eyes, furrowed my brow, studied my reflection, and then came to the stunning realization that I fucking hated these pants. Seriously, I hated them. They were ugly as shit. I loathe the way they fit my body, clinging to my hips and pulling awkwardly at the ankle. I resented the way the fabric wrinkled as I walked, how humid it felt against my skin. I ripped them off and threw them across the room. I was furious. I had spent months envisioning how this moment would feel, believing it would repay me in self-esteem what months of discipline had taken. I deserved this. But as I paced back and forth from my closet to my mirror, only one question rose to the surface. Did I ever like the pants? I feel like you guys get where I'm going with this. I didn't. I never liked the pants. The pants were always ugly. Suddenly, it was clear. I'd been using them as a control mechanism, a false sense of purpose during an aimless time. And I had pushed my mental and physical boundaries too far, putting my body through so much duress and manipulation that I'd lost sight of myself. This revelation was a chance to revert back my pattern of thinking, to get reacquainted with the parts of my identity that I've always worn with pride. My father's dry wit. My mother's cheekbones. Let's get a wave, Mom. Hi, hon. And my naturally platinum blonde hair. It's not natural, you guys. It's not. Okay, just making sure. Basically, I was looking for a path to self-acceptance, not self-love. Self-love is hard. It's way harder than we make it seem. I think it's okay if we settle for self-acceptance. Basically, long story short, I've since had the privilege of stumbling upon many parts of myself through many different pairs of pants. A process of discovery, I'd say, is akin to dating. And while I've had casual flings with countless pairs, I've only gotten serious with a select few. A pair of white, high-waisted, wide-legged jeans, a pair of thrifted, leopard print cotton pajama pants that were never meant to be worn outside, and a pair of worn-in Levi's that found me in a sea of denim off the $5 rack, which I happen to be wearing right now. Just give you a quick. You guys got it? Follow me on Instagram, you guys. I tried on so many jeans that day that both my thighs and optimism had begun to chafe. But I was drawn to this particular pair's color. They were such an honest shade of blue. When I tried them on, something internally clicked. There was no need to contort my body. They fastened symbiotically, embracing me as I am. Now, like the rest of us, the pants came with a little bit of baggage. There was a gaping hole near the left side of my crotch. But I brought them home anyway and stitched them up myself. Now, separately, we're a couple of misfits. But together, we're a work in progress. Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Let's give it for Iman and finding the right pair of pants. I think we all know what that's like. Next to the stage, we are going to have Donny Meacham, real name Donnice. Donny is a Southern boy living in a New York state of mind. Worked in radio over 8 years, now in varying capacities. Hosted a weekly show on SiriusXM, as well as a weekly podcast with Zara, Barrie. I wonder who that is. Called Anxiety Radio, dealing with dating, pop culture, and mental health. He writes a weekly dating column, as well as currently writing his first book. Political junkie, skinny jean enthusiast, and an unhealthy obsession with Grey's Anatomy. Welcome to this, and new as of this week, TV host, Dating with Donny. You can find that. You can give them the info. Welcome to the stage, Donny Meacham.
I'm way too skinny to be put behind this podium. Need you guys to notice, feel jealous, it's okay. Yes, Donnice, you thought you were going to get 5 women. Joke's on you. Just white trash parents, and I owned it. So Zara was really like, I really need you guys to prep for this evening. And I was like, prep? I do that daily in a pill. I don't do that for this event. So the thing is there, you guys laughed. I told a joke. That's what I do, because when I walk into a room, I want to disarm you. I want you to know everything's okay. I'm good. I'm happy. Even when I'm not happy, I'm happy because you laughed. I made you laugh. So you think, oh, Donnie's joking around. Donnie's here. Donnie's having a great time. I mean, right now I'm 3 glasses of wine and 3 shots of Listerine in, so like I'm having fun. But the joke is that's what people do. When people suffer from depression or anxiety, what they do is they walk into a room and they make you laugh because they want you to know that they're fine. Because they're scared to walk into a room. Nobody was walking into a room sad. We all have sad friends. I don't hang out with them. So I don't want to be that sad friend. So that's a sign that you can look for in your friends. When your friends, if you know somebody, and all of you probably do, who walk in and they're like, oh, I'm gonna make you laugh. I'm gonna get you. And then, oh, the kids, having great. Don't fall, please. It's not performance art. I was gonna shit on myself, but then I thought, no. And then, another joke, gotcha. So that's what it is. That's just a sign to look for. We all have friends who do that. You might want to just go, you all right, girl? You're always making us laugh, but are you laughing when you get home? The answer, 50% of the time, is probably no. So my story with mental health deals when I was a child. So I'm a product of mental health. You're welcome. I know, it's a fabulous product of mental health, but it's a product of mental health. My mother has multiple personality disorder, and she married a man who was bipolar. So welcome to Alabama. So that was wonderful growing up. It was wonderful in that it was not wonderful at all. A lot of personalities in that house. So the thing is, though, is in Alabama, nobody talks about mental health. People are scared of it or embarrassed. It's a stigma. And so nobody was ready to diagnose it, so my mom wasn't taking medication. She was embarrassed, she was scared. And to be honest, she didn't even know that she was crazy. And so growing up, I was surrounded by people who didn't know how to handle themselves, so therefore didn't know how to handle me as a child. So my mom, what she did, which is what every not great mother does, is she just up and left. Because she didn't know how to deal with her own struggles, and she didn't know how to get out of her being married to a man who was bipolar. So she just joined the army, which is great, you know, go off, serve the country, you do you. But she just left us kids at home, and so there I am, being raised by a man who's bipolar, who I hate. And so one night, it was maybe 6 months after she left, I wake up in the middle of the night, the original fucking Katniss from Hunger Games. He's standing over my bed with a bow and arrow, pointed at me, and he's like, I'm gonna kill you right now. And I was like, but let's relax, like, chill out. And so I run out the back door, and we lived in Alabama, like I said, so 14 acres, and we had a trout farm, a pond. It all sounds lovely until you're the gay boy in Alabama, and it's not so lovely. And so I ran out the back door. I escaped the back door. First time in, last time. And so I escaped, never went back home. And that was my story. So for me, I left. I got away from them. But at 14 years old, it's like, well, how do I handle this? How do I deal with this? How do I go to high school? How do I do all these things? How do I, live my life being affected by these people who don't even know that they've affected me? So what the real reason is I'm angry. So at 14 years old, I'm angry at my mom, I'm angry at my stepdad, I'm angry at the world, I'm angry the fact that I was called faggot more times than I was called Donnie in high school. So I'm just sitting there going, what's wrong with the world? And then I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna let this get me down. I'm gonna be better than this. I'm gonna be better than them, and I'm gonna be better than the people around me. Which was sucked, because everybody wants to grow up to be just like their parents. The sad part is, I wanted to be nothing like mine. And that is what drove me to be like, all right, I'm gonna go to school every day. I'm gonna live in government housing. I'm gonna do what I need to do in order to survive. But the only thing is that was great, but what I carried along with me was anger. And anger that, still angry with them, but also angry in the fact that I let it affect parts of my life. What it most affects in my life is dating. So yes, I am single, so hey-oh, hit me up. Which is funny because I actually give dating advice, which is crazy. And speaking of yes, so if anybody has the Reels channel, don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's like a little small channel, but I love it. Reels channel, Celebrity Page TV, Dating with Donny. It premieres next Tuesday night, so you can look at that. And hey-oh. I know, literally just happened, so I'm just as excited as you guys are. And but what it affected is me dating people, because, and I'm gonna ask a couple people here, a little crazy text coming in late at night, and the problem is I can't explain to them why I'm texting them crazy. I'm like, you let me down. And they're like, but all I did was cancel plans with you. It's like, you cancel plans with me, but what that means is you let me down. You let me down like my mom let me down. You let me down like my stepdad let me down. You let me down like the entire fucking state of Alabama let me down. I think that's 3 F words, so I gotta kind of stop that. I had a great joke planned to begin with, but it had 2 F-bombs in it at the beginning, so I got told no. It's a funny joke. I'll tweet it out later. Maybe you can see it. Tweet Radio Donny. You can follow me on Instagram, Dating Donny. Change that because it works with branding. And so that's the thing. So it affects every part of my life. And in turn, you know what that does? Makes me angry because I'm pissed. I'm pissed that I've let them affect me long term. I'm 30 soup years old. Just like grab a number in there and throw it in. And but that's the thing. You think I would be over it, but I'm not. And the part is I worry about being angry because it's not my fault that I get angry because I'm a product of mental health and I'm just dealing with what was thrown on me. But yet, am I allowed to be angry with my mom? Because she herself couldn't control what her issue is. And the thing is there's no real answer to that. Because what do you say? Yeah, you're allowed to be angry. It's like, well, why am I allowed to be angry? She can control it just like I can't control it. But then it's like, but you were a child. You were this, you were that. And that's what I want people to know. Because a lot of us deal with people in our personal lives who struggle with depression and mental illness, and we get angry with them. So I want you guys, if you know somebody, to be a little different than me. Try not to be angry. And if you are angry, your feelings are valid too. You're allowed to be, but think about why you're angry. And think about being angry. Is that going to solve the problem? I think it's a little late for me and my mother because when I talk to her, I A, turn into a little Southern boy, and B, want to just jump to the phone and punch her. So things aren't great, but I can now realize that these are the issues, and then moving forward, I can try to not let them affect my relationships moving forward. So that's really what the purpose of this is the fact that, are you allowed to get angry with people who also have mental illness? Yes, you're allowed to get angry. But you also have to realize they can't control it just like you can't control it. The other thing is I am very guilty of when I am depressed or I am sad, I learn to just drink my pain away, which is fine, maybe pop an Adderall or 2, but that's just between us friends. And because the sad thing is when you take Adderall, you can actually drink more, which is a shitty side effect, but works for me. And that's the thing is I want to get to the point anymore to where I can drink without thinking and think without drinking. And that's really what I want people to do. So that is my story. I'm a product of mental health, a fabulous product of mental health, and thank you guys for hearing me out. All right, so I get the honor of welcoming my friend and host. We host a weekly show called Anxiety Radio. It's free wherever you get your podcasts. Can't, name an opposing brand. So Samsung's wonderful. I'm taking the tablet home. And so, yes, check us out. It's every Wednesday. My friend, Zara Barrie. Welcome to the stage.
Let's give it up for Donny being the most fabulous Southern product of mental health, unhealth, call it whatever you want to call it. I just want to take a moment before I start. I'm going to be the last one up tonight. And I just want to thank you guys for being such an attentive, amazing audience, because we as performers can really feel when you're there with us, and it really fuels our performance, and that is a gift, so thank you. Now, I am going to tell a little story. I haven't actually published this piece yet. It may or may not go in my book, which comes out May 2020. Girl, Stop Passing Out in Your Makeup, it's called. The working title is Strong Women Own Their Mistakes. The real title is The Time I Drank Doubles on Lexapro. When I was 24, I did a brief stint living in good old London. This was not a happy time in my life. I was severely, severely depressed and severely, severely traumatized, yet I was in complete denial about both my depression and my trauma. To say I was on a booze bender would be the understatement of the year, girl. I was drinking like I was being sent to the electric chair almost every single night. Let me get one thing clear. Blacking out was never my intention. It just happened. I wasn't eating much at the time, and I just started taking Lexapro, both of which are a recipe for disaster when mixed with booze. One night, my very, very cool supermodel friend, let's call her Lacey, invited me to a very cool model birthday party at a very cool gastropub in a very cool neighborhood in London called Notting Hill. When Lacey invited me to the party, I was certain that that night I would be able to drink like a normal person. It helped that Lacey wasn't a blackout drinker herself. Granted, she was a healthy, hydrated 5'11", and I was an unhealthy, dehydrated 5'5", but I didn't think so critically back in those days, you know? My head was cloudy from the manic depression and the excessive drinking. You know, it can really make a girl a little... So, I did what I know how to do when I'm trying to behave myself, and that starts always with clothes. I put on my favorite Marc by Marc Jacobs dress, a cute black and white shift dress with one of those very virginal Peter Pan collars that made me look and feel far more prim than I actually was. Also, guys, just pro tip, if someone's wearing a Peter Pan collar that's like over the age of 16, they're overcompensating. Trust me, I have a lot of Peter Pan collars in my closet, if you know what I mean. I was extra careful to iron out the kinks in my hair, and I was sure to wear heels that I could actually walk in. No stilettos on the Notting Hill cobblestone for me tonight. No making a fool of myself tonight. Tonight, I was just a normal girl going to a trendy party with non-raging alcoholic nice girlfriends. The party took place at one of those very cutesy-looking pubs, the kind with a garden outside that's filled with wild English roses and smells like freshly rained-on soil. A sweet fireplace held court in the center of the restaurant, making it look more like a grandmother's living room than a pub. Also, the pub was definitely overcompensating because, let's just say the bathroom lines were long. The model, whose birthday it was seated in the back table with a bunch of other exquisite-looking, impossibly thin, impossibly tall girl creatures. I felt very short and very squat and very Jewish next to these Anglo-Saxon Amazons. The boys that were with them were hideous-looking, but you could tell they were very wealthy and powerful by their unabashed confidence, despite the fact that they all had bad, rotting teeth and bellies that shamelessly hung over their belt buckles. The vibe, girl, was not my vibe. I don't do well in cold, cool environments. I need a warm, wet, sloppy environments in order to have a personality. I felt out of place. A puppy dog with its tongue hanging out of its mouth, tossed recklessly into a sea of sleek eels. I didn't know this model princess. Why the hell had I gone to her birthday? Lacey was as sweet as always, but Lacey was stretched even thinner than she already is, and that's saying a lot for a model. She was surrounded by other tall beauts that she'd known from modeling since she was 16. So I did what I always do when I felt uncomfortable. I removed myself from the situation and I went home. Really? No. We all know what I really did. I removed myself from the table, ran faster than a cheetah on the prowl in the dead of the night, and went straight to the bar, where I decided that it was a fabulous idea on a stomach with zero food, only Lexapro inside of it, to order a double vodka soda. If I couldn't be comfortable in this crowd naturally, I would drink myself into comfort, which always in the past had worked out so well for me, so like why on earth would it backfire tonight? I downed one double and I felt so much better, so I decided to order another double to feel even more better. I could feel the alcohol lubricating my personality, making it ripe for the plucking. In the corner of my eye, I saw two girls in blazers giggle at me as I chugged my beverage like the American piece of trash that I was. In hindsight, I realized they were probably laughing about something that had nothing to do with me, but misery can make a girl wildly narcissistic, FYI. I stumbled to the table where everyone was sitting, tamely drinking champagne as if it were English tea with the Queen. I was definitely more lit than anyone else. This made me feel very self-conscious, so when one of the puffy fuck boys asked me if I wanted a glass of champagne, I said yes, of course I wanted a fucking glass of champagne. The rest of the night was a blur. I have flashes of stumbling. I have flashes of falling. I have flashes of slurring nonsense to a non-impressed Australian dude talking about poetry. He was not interested. I have flashes of a look of bright red embarrassment dance across poor, sober Lacey's face. And then the flash crystallizes and is so clear and so vivid, it will never, ever escape my brain. I'm not gonna lie, this is not fun to revisit, but we're gonna go there today. It's Thursday, what are we gonna do? So I emerge out of the blackout, and my bare hands are covered in cake, birthday cake. Then the rest fades to black. I go back into a blackout. I come back into consciousness as someone, a man, is yelling, "Are you eating a bloody birthday candle?" Suddenly I taste stiff wax in my mouth. I realize I am indeed eating a birthday candle. I am met with the freezing cold sweats of acute embarrassment. I don't know what to say, but my friend Violet's voice comes bursting into my brain. Deny, 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 deny. It's the advice she once gave me when I was worried I had an STD from a one-night stand and had maybe given it to a new partner. I didn't have it, by the way. I'm not eating a birthday candle, I slurred, trying to fight back the sting of ears invading my sore eyes. I confidently chewed the candle in front of him, as if it were a regular piece of cake, no big deal. It was hard and waxy. It tasted like poison. As soon as I'd swallowed the candle, I took off and I ran out of the bar. I could hear Lacey yelling my name behind me, "Zara, Zara, come back, come back." But I was far too ashamed to look her in the eye. I was actually suddenly sober. Actually, worse than sober, I was hungover. Had I really stuck my hands into a birthday cake? Or was it a figment of my imagination? I'll never know, but here's what I do know. If I was hammered enough to eat a birthday candle out of a supermodel's birthday cake, I was most certainly hammered enough to ravage the cake with my bare hands. The next morning when I woke up, I pulled the covers right over my head and lowered the blinds until it was pitch black in my bedroom. My heart was racing, my mind was racing. How could I ever go out in London again? I, Zara Barrie, had blacked out on my new antidepressants at a party full of very cool, very beautiful, very normal people. Not only had I blacked out, I ate a birthday candle. Not Violet or Owen or Eduardo's or Ruba's birthday candle, a fucking model's birthday candle. Not only did I never, ever, ever want to face Lacey or London or Notting Hill ever again, I didn't want to face myself again. The truth was, I had let myself down. I wanted to stew in my stupidity for the rest of my life. I did it for a few days. I avoided Lacey's concerned calls. I hardly ate. I hardly slept. Then good old Sharon showed up. And before I keep going, let me tell you a little bit about my friend Sharon. Sharon is a really, really wise woman who lives inside of me. We're very different. She has a blonde bob. She has a Coach bag. Couldn't be more different than me. And she's very wise, and she always shows up when I need her and knocks some sense into me. And I know some evolved spiritual people might say it's the higher self. I'm sure women's magazines would say that's your intuition. I call her Sharon, and we have a very close relationship. "Baby girl, get out of bed," Sharon chuckled, grinning. "Why are you grinning? This is the most embarrassing moment of my entire life." "I'm grinning because it's funny, Zara. You ate a birthday candle on Lexapro. Yes, it's mortifying, but shit, what a fabulous story it'll make one day." Sharon slapped her stomach and released a giant, deep belly laugh. Her laugh sounded like a relief. It gave me permission to release myself from the shackles of shame. It was infectious. The next thing I knew, I was laughing hysterically along beside her. I am never gonna drink doubles on Lexapro again, I said, tears of laughter streaming down my face. I wiped a tear off of my cheek and I looked at it. It looked exactly the same as a sad tear. How strange, I thought to myself as I flicked it off my finger. Now, Zara, you clearly screwed up, and this is something you don't want to make a habit of, but where is all the shame and guilt going to get you? You made a fool out of yourself. You didn't kill someone. You didn't intentionally try to hurt someone. So you ate a candle, big fucking deal. I ate a live fish once, Sharon said, lighting up a cigarette as she always did when she was about to reveal something juicy. A fish? Why? I asked, imagining my childhood goldfish kisser swimming down Sharon's plump throat. It was a dare. I was being hazed for my sorority, plus I'd taken down 10 gin and tonics. You were in a sorority? I asked, bewildered. Yeah, and you ate a candle. We all have a past. It's part of what makes us so sexy. I'll let you stew on that, babe. Sharon gathered her Coach bag and her Virginia Slim cigarettes and yellow Bic lighter and made her way out the door. Right before she left, she turned to me and said, if you ever catch yourself taking yourself too seriously, remember, you ate a birthday candle. Before I had the chance to chuckle along with her, she was gone. The moral of the story here is that if you are harboring shame, if you are spiraling over what you did last weekend, or you're seeped with regret with who you had sex with last night, or you're wildly embarrassed about your withering mental state, I am here to tell you to get over yourself. I am here to tell you that at least you didn't eat a birthday candle. I'm here to tell you that Sharon is right. Well, there's nothing sexy about falling down drunk. There is something extremely sexy about a woman who is unafraid to own her shit. A woman who can hold her head up high and say, babe, I got plastered and I fell down last night. Look, I'm on new psychotropic drugs. They didn't mix well with the alcohol. Oh, well. Because anyone who is remotely interesting has embarrassed themselves at some point in their lives. My friend Dayna, Chaz Bono Dayna, she split her latex pants in front of a crowd of hot lesbians at her birthday party last year. Not only did she split her pants, but she was twerking as she did it. And her entire asshole was exposed to a group of complete strangers. She looked at me and said, I have to go home and kill myself immediately. I have to go home and kill myself immediately. I have to go home and kill myself immediately. But guess what? She didn't. She went out on the town and rocked the split pants and made everyone laugh as she dramatically retold the story, embellishing it with each fresh cocktail. My friend Bea farted during sex with the man of her dreams. A loud, wet fart that stunk up the whole room. When he asked her if she had actually indeed just farted, she said, it wasn't me, even though it was just the two of them in the room and it was clearly her. My friend recently threw up into a fan at an Alice and Olivia sample sale. Here's my PSA. Strong women own their mistakes. Tape that onto your bathroom goddamn mirror. Memorize it, live it, get over your shame. The beautiful thing about screwing up is now you know better. And I never ordered doubles on Lexapro again after that because I knew better. And in the words of the late Maya Angelou, when you know better, you do better. So get on your knees and kiss the ground and thank the beautiful universe for your glorious fuck up. Laugh about it, sing about it, write about it. You're so hot when you scream about the icky parts of your life from the rooftops. You're so dynamic when you don't just display your highlight reel to the outer world. You're so sexy when you talk about your turbulent past. And the more you screw up, the more you learn about how not to screw up. The lessons are all in the screw-ups. And if you're still, for whatever reason after this, teeming with shame over what you did last night, imagine me laying in bed with you. I have cake stains all over my dress. I have candle wax stuck in my teeth. I'm clutching a bottle of Lexapro like it's a goddamn trophy. But guess what? I still look sexy because I'm laughing about it. I'm taking my humiliation and using it as a tool to make you feel better. You realize how powerful that is. You realize it's time to tell your story to help other girls feel less ashamed about their shit too, because all girls have shame. You're not special, you're just real as fuck. And I'd rather be real than special any day, because real is refreshing. Special is fake and it's precious. And I don't fuck around with fake and precious. Do you? Thank you guys again so much. This was so special. Be sure to go onto samsung.com/837, see all the other amazing events that Samsung has. This is just one in a sea of gazillions. And right before we go, I'd like to call the amazing talent to the stage for one final curtain call. Come on, guys. I am honored to know every single one of you and in awe of your honesty. And again, if you're interested in donating to the source, there will be brand ambassadors all around. Any little bit helps. Thank you again so much for a beautiful night. Let's scream our mental illness from the rooftops.
It's going down. I'm yelling to